Hey, video diary. I am in this room because I'm rebuilding another room. So no kitchen for a couple of weeks, and it's funny that it's falling into this time, but it is. Tonight, and I've had an injury for a couple weeks, but tonight and last night, but tonight was an intense class, free rolling class where everybody just rolls in matches that last 5 or whatever minutes. In this case, it was 5 minutes. And my teacher said to me, and he wouldn't have said it, he didn't have to say anything, but he said, "I think you've learned something this year." And he said it in a very private but formal way to me. Wow. Shit. I'm doing this for my son, because I promised him I would. I mean, we used to fight and grapple and wrestle, and then I trained a few times with his school. That was, and I have a black belt in Hapkido, but man, nothing is like this constant pressure of gravity and opposition that you get from a jiu-jitsu or wrestling, because you're just using animal, parts of you that you never would use in a gym, or it's only when you're, scrambling to fend off or attack, to defend, all those kind of things. And when you're in these situations, you do not want these people on top of you. So I do everything I can to keep them off. But I study it, and I'm progressing, and I don't, I'm just, it's my grief yoga, part of my grief yoga. And I feel like I've been doing it all my life. And I don't think about Forrest when I'm in there. I think about the moment, that I'm living. But Forrest is why I'm there. I know I've said a lot of terrible things, a lot of angry things. Because I feel them, I mean them all. But I'm only this upset and angry because of just the outrage that I feel for losing my son. And he didn't have an addiction that I knew about. It was just, he was just gone. And it was like at the height of everything, like the height of the excitement of graduating school and having him come back and him not, him being well, super well. And then having all of that be, the opposite. But I feel that in some way through my efforts that he's living inside of me. Like trying to express through some of the love that we shared, my commitment to the promise I made, and knowing, and because we did roll together. He was teaching me some stuff, and I had some ground experience, but like the commitment. Excuse me. Because he was really, he had wanted to be a striker, and he was a good fighter and all that stuff. It's like, this is something much deeper. I'll leave it up to other people to explain it. And maybe you don't get hurt in the same way. It's like, it's more realistic to what it's like to grapple, if that's an analogy or a metaphor, and also the actual. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is I miss my son. I love my son. And it's frustrating to not be able to do anything about that, but what? Continue a day at a time, living like things are normal. It's unnormal to me in such a way, it's fractured. I haven't felt this fractured since my father died. I could even understand my father dying at the time, it's like, your parents always seem old, they seem more vulnerable. And it's really terrible living with the awareness of preparing myself to say goodbye to people in my life that I know will die. But Forrest wasn't one of those people. So but just losing my son, all that other, it just face to face, heart to heart, mind to mind. He was my future. I've lost, a lot. I've lost the future. And the moment, because the future's uncertain. We imagine it, but the moment. I know he would be happy about a few things. Alan Watts, who's really helped me. Forrest pointed me there. And this practice, and also what I'm doing with the guitar, he would approve. And I love my son. And you know, when you go out on these things, you know, of the anger and the hate and the disgust and the, you know, the abandonment, you know, it's like, and then you get into like the business, the heroin trade and shit like that. You know, it's a rabbit hole, and it's all just to cover and fill in the empty space that that person made by disappearing in an untimely way. So I'm just trying not to want to die myself in some way, you know, because I thought like, well, maybe after this year I'll try to make the records that I was sort of slated to make this year, and like that's something the forest would approve of. And like in the next few steps, I was walking down the street. I said, "No fucking way, no fucking way." So whatever that is. I spent mostly this week alone in this room, babysitting a construction project and working. And I realized like, and I wasn't like playing a lot. It was like, you know, a couple hours a day. It's not a lot for me. And I took a little time off of my training because I was overtraining. And I guess I'm reflecting on like the fact that he was alive 1 year ago and he'll be dying in a week or some shit. But I don't know. I don't know what I'm reflecting on. I don't even know if it's like, if it's a looking back. There is some of that, you know, that I have looked, I guess I reviewed the year before in my mind very carefully every day as if I was reliving it. So maybe I'll be reliving some sort of trauma here. I cannot fucking believe it. But anyway, you see what I'm saying? You go out and around. And at what point, you know? But I've even said to myself, excuse me, I've even said to myself, I got to pull it together and, you know, decide to, blah, 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 you know, look forward and do your shit and, you know. And like I said, I'll be like, for what? Really, for what? And then I come up with great reasons for what, you know? And I sometimes imagine what Forrest is saying to me, like, don't give up, Dad. You know, I'm sorry. I have not let him penetrate, you know, like the knowledge I have of him penetrate to move me to heal. I don't know if I don't know if I can heal this by just pretending to heal. I don't even know what that means. I guess you don't, you know, some people don't, you know, they say it doesn't exist, which is interesting. I don't know. I'm not looking forward to being bitter and morbid, you know, the rest of my life, or hanging myself in a closet. You know, it's like I don't want to do. I don't even, you know, I don't want to be drugged out. I don't want to be depressed. You know, there's things that I don't want, and I do want to be happy and productive and all that stuff. But you know, those are words, and the moment to moment experience of feeling that he died and that he was just here and all that, and that's getting farther and farther away. That has a power to it that's stronger than a person's ability to be psychological, to just apply a little psychology through it. And that's what I feel, the profound connection to everything alive since he died. I never felt like this. And maybe that's what I need. I need more nature. Instead, I've been like living in a giant city and beating my head against the jazz wall. And sometimes it's really good to just say, just fuck it. Wipe everything off your schedule. I don't know. Mentally, I've done that anyway. That's my MO, modus operandi, operating system. I just go moment to moment. Another thing Forrest would appreciate. So yeah, I've said some horrible things. But that just tells me how strong. It's like my twin. If your twin killed themselves and didn't tell you, and you would just be like, I'm sorry. And I know he didn't kill himself by trying to, suicide, though what he was doing was completely off the, acceptable columns. There was no place for that in any column A, B, or C, or D, or E, So that's the trust thing, But my experience of him was never like that. Like it was just beautiful all the time. It was just real. I've phone calls. I saw him in a video recently, and that's been haunting me, and maybe I shouldn't do that. I don't know what I'm going to do over the night that he died. I've just been sort of immersing myself in work, physical work. Thanks for listening.